Mr. Chairman. Today we gather to discuss Donald Trump's health care blueprint for the coming year. Robert Kennedy came into the office of Health Secretary with sweeping promises of restoring the public's trust in government and making Americans healthy again. Now, as the Trump campaign pollsters flail about trying to cover up Robert Kennedy's devastatingly unpopular anti-vaccine policies, I believe the witness will try to have it both ways. He'll serve up enough fakery this morning to help Senate Republicans ignore the real harm that's being caused, while twisting the truth enough so he can go back to pushing anti-vax policies that make kids sick when he's out of the hearing room. The rank hypocrisy of the Trump administration on health can be summed up in a sentence: goodies for those at the top, while American families get sicker and poorer. While Donald Trump and the Secretary are cozying up to insurance executives by handing over more than $20 billion and throwing consumer protections in the trash, Oregonians now play Russian roulette with their health care, actually trying to figure out how they can go without insurance until they qualify for Medicare because they can't afford higher ACA premiums. When Donald Trump cuts the sweetheart deals with the big pharma executives, rural America continues to struggle, often because Republicans have made the largest cut to health care in American history. What these communities are seeing now, I believe, is only a beginning of how things are going to get worse when the cuts Republicans have hidden. And I've never seen this in all my time in public service, hiding the details until after the election. Time and again, when Republicans are put in charge of Americans' health care, there's a never-ending flood of benefits for special interests while American families get left further behind. Nothing illustrates the Trump-Kennedy hypocrisy on health more than their approach to prescription drugs. Donald Trump spent the last year hosting executives from the big pharma companies in the Oval Office. He boasted of so-called deals to bring down the price of medicine. The details, the important facts about these deals are totally secret. My staff spoke with each company involved in these deals. The only thing that's clear is the list of goodies that the companies got in exchange. Robert Kennedy is here this morning, and he's going to ask Congress to codify these sweetheart deals sight unseen. Let me repeat that. People in Congress aren't going to see the details about these deals. So while the American people wait for their costs at the pharmacy to go down, the administration touts Trump Rx, which actually offers higher prices for drugs than what most people can get through their insurance. There is no bigger fraud on the planet when it comes to drug costs than Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Robert Kennedy has presided over the biggest cut to Americans' health care in history, a choice that's already kicked Americans off their care, forced hospitals to close, and caused health care workers to lose their jobs. Since Republicans passed that law, my staff has been thoroughly cataloging every hospital, every clinic, and every health care provider that has shut their doors, reduced services, or laid off staff. So we have the receipts. There have been over 170 closures and service reductions across 34 states. Nearly 7,500 healthcare workers have lost their jobs across 24 states. These healthcare providers cited the impossible financial challenges caused by the Republican Medicaid cuts. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record our analysis.
Without objection.
Now, I recently held a forum with healthcare workers at home in rural Oregon in a place where Donald Trump got better than 70% of the vote. What I heard there underscores the reports that are coming in from around the nation. Healthcare providers are walking an economic tightrope, and these communities can't afford to lose the services they're providing. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record submissions from 5 states, including Oregon, as well as news articles from around the country that confirm the catastrophe that is playing out on the ground as states contend with the impossible task of implementing more than $1 trillion in cuts.
Without objection.
Mr. Kennedy is the most senior and influential healthcare official in the country. When it comes to vaccines, Robert Kennedy has used this once-in-a-lifetime platform to make parents doubt themselves and doubt their doctors. 90% of Americans infected with measles during this unprecedented outbreak, mostly kids, have not been vaccinated. It is no coincidence that it comes as the person in charge of our country's health care lays out propaganda about vaccines, all on the taxpayer dime. The Secretary has ducked, bobbed, and weaved without taking responsibility of saying what needs to be said. Vaccines save lives in America. They keep kids from getting sick. And yet the Secretary won't say it in plain, straightforward terms. He's repeatedly lied before the Congress. First, he lied to me about his trip to Samoa. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record a report by The Guardian and the Associated Press disclosing emails between State Department officials that make it clear that the Secretary was traveling to the island nation to promote his anti-vax views.
Without objection.
Second, he lied to Congresswoman Terry Sewell by denying that he said black children should be reparented if they receive treatment for ADD and ADHD. And he's continued to lie about the Republican cuts to Medicaid, claiming that there have been no cuts. That is an absurd claim that would get him laughed out of any room in rural America where public officials and healthcare providers gather to make agonizing choices about payment cuts at this moment. These lies and misrepresentations underscore why, as you know, Mr. Chairman, I asked Robert Kennedy to testify under oath the last time he came before the committee. Regardless of whether or not he's taken the oath, he ought to remember that you can't lie to Congress. It's a crime. Our witness is going to tell the committee this morning that Democrats are interested in protecting the status quo. Nothing could be further from the truth. The nation's healthcare system is broken. That's only going to get worse with the Republican cuts that the Secretary has been cheerleading for from the sidelines. Right now, Democrats on this side, to a person, are leading an effort to reimagine healthcare for American families so it is more affordable, more simple, and less beholden to the corporate interests that Republicans empower at every single opportunity. My own take is if the Secretary was serious about making America healthy again, he'd be working with us on dealing with these issues rather than going to the side of big insurance and big pharma with sweetheart deals. It's an important hearing, and I look forward to the questions.